A talented Wesleyan team finished the 2020 season unbeaten, but the coronavirus pandemic denied it a shot at a state title run. With some unfinished business in 2021 and a roster loaded with Division I talent, the Wolves opened number 23 in the PBR Georgia Power 25. Cory McCartney here, joined by PBR Georgia scouting director Phil Kerber, and we're joined by the Wolves coach Brian Krehmeyer. Brian, welcome in and appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Brian, I'm going to get things started. And, when looking at your team, the first thing that came to my mind was, how do you manage all of this talent, and how do you build a culture of team first mentality with all of these talented guys around?
Well, you're absolutely right. That's a challenge. The longer that I'm in this business, coaching high school sports, the more I realize that culture is truly the key element. There's a lot of talented teams in the state of Georgia, and a lot of those talented teams fall short of their goals. It's the ones that enjoy playing with each other and for each other, that enjoy coming out to practice early, stay late. They are the ones who want to cause their season, who want to lead their season to last as long as it possibly can. And of course, that means taking a trip through the playoffs. So we do a lot of things in the preseason to build a family atmosphere. I come from a football background, coaching several years in high school football, and that word gets thrown around a lot, family. I'm not sure how much is often used in baseball, but it's a valuable tool, and it's a valuable image when you're talking about your baseball team, particularly one that's going to be around each other from December as they start doing a lot of the preseason work all the way through the end of May. And I know some programs even are very involved in the fall, but they're going to spend a lot of time with each other. So they got to like each other first for that time to be productive. We take team retreats. We have team dinners. We have a facility here on campus where the guys can just hang out. We call it our clubhouse, where they get to know each other as people and then learn to respect one another as people before we actually even get onto the field, to learn about each other as players and respect each other as players.
Coach, among those Division I prospects that you have, obviously Druw Jones, the son of 10-time Gold Glove winner Andrew Jones. Druw is obviously headed to Vanderbilt, certainly a bat to watch in your lineup. What makes him such an exciting player?
Well, he's extremely gifted, but he also understands the game. He's polished in so many areas. There are some things that normal mortals don't do with a baseball. The way the ball jumps off his bat, the way it comes out of his hand, the jumps and the anticipation that he has going after the ball defensively, and just the way he sees the game. He's been blessed to grow up with a big league dad who has shown him how to watch the game critically, analytically, and that's just put him light years ahead of his peers.
I think Drew's well on his way to becoming a household name. Who might you pin as an unsung or secondary bat to watch on your team?
That's a hard question to identify who would be the secondary. We certainly have a number of top talents in our roster. It's one of those years we're riding the crest of a wave this year. It's not always that way at Wesleyan, but this is a very fortunate year. We got a pair of seniors who are certainly on some watch lists with Jalen Fullwood and James McCoy. As we move into the class of 2022, which is Drew's year, he is classmates with Cooper Blauser. And we have recently a transfer from California, Bryce Hubbard, who's a Mississippi State commit, but somebody who is flying under the radar right now, also out of that 2022 class. Carson Ballard is going to be a name that's going to be shared and spoken about. And then even in 2023, Dominic Scalise is a name that's an up-and-comer amongst the current sophomores in high school.
You mentioned James McCoy, obviously Kentucky-bound, and Jalen Fullwood going to Chattahoochee Valley. Obviously, Druw Jones pitches as well. What in your mind is the strength of the top end of your staff?
Well, that's a good question. We have several pitchers on our staff, but what's interesting about those pitchers, they don't identify themselves as pitchers first. They're position players who also pitch or who see their future as brighter in the field and with a bat in their hand than on top of the mound. But yet these guys, they have pinpoint accuracy. Of course, they have the velocity that comes with being a top baseball player. You're going to throw the ball well, whether you're an outfielder or infielder. But they're also competitors, and they've been around the game. They understand the not just the object of the game, but how to get there. It's about command more so than it is velocity. That's why Major League Baseball hitters can time up 100-mile-an-hour plus fastballs. Not sure that there's ever a velocity you could throw at that batters can't catch up to. But if you put that pitch in the right location, you're going to end up recording more outs than giving up hits. So these guys have pinpoint accuracy. McCoy, Fullwood, Jones, I mentioned Ballard earlier. They're going to be at the top of our staff and our rotation. And they may not be able to go all 7 innings, but for the innings that they're out there, they're going to be very effective.
You mentioned Hubbard and Scalise as newcomers that can make an impact. What makes them so intriguing?
Well, Bryce Hubbard kind of fell into our lap this summer with all the COVID and the politics as well taking place out in California, the anticipation that California would keep their schools shuttered and also cancel high school athletics. The Hubbard family moved to Atlanta and through some summer ball, teammates found their way to Wesleyan. He is a talent. He swings a beautiful left-handed bat and has provided a real spark in our lineup. As far as Scalise, he's a kid that's been in our program ever since being in lower school. He's always come to our little kids camp, played in our middle school program, and he's just starting to emerge as boys do. They hit their growth spurt and begin to fill out, and he works really, really hard, developing his skills and his craft, and he's gotten to the point where he's going to be a contributor for us this year as a sophomore, and we're looking for great things out of him, both on the field, in the lineup, and on top of the mound in the years to come.
Back to the pitching coach. I mean, certainly you had mentioned, you have some guys that have experience here, but not significant experience in terms of going deep into games. So what are the challenges for this team? And certainly I would imagine a key element to you guys having success in 2021 in getting those late innings in a game taken care of.
Well, that's something we talked about as a team and certainly as a coaching staff too, is how we're going to handle our pitching staff. We've got 8, 9, 10, 11 guys who can throw strikes. They all provide a little something different to the pitching staff, some right-handed, some left-handed. We even got a submariner. And so it's about mixing and matching those different arms to give our opponents different looks. As I mentioned earlier, teams are going to catch up the fastballs no matter how hard you throw it. Teams are going to make adjustments the second, the third time through the lineup. So we have no qualms about going a 3-2-2, a 4-2-1, a 3-1-3 combination with our pitchers because we think that's going to keep our arms fresh as we hope to play into May. It's going to keep a lot of guys active who, if you only have 1 or 2 horses, you might start losing some of that depth in your pitching staff. And it's going to pose some problems for our opponents because they're going to constantly have to make adjustments, right-handed, left-handed, different type of arm slot, and that plays into our advantage.
Finally, Coach, kind of taking a step back and looking at Class A as a whole, who are the teams you're keeping an eye on?
Well, as much notoriety as what we're receiving this year, you always have to start by looking at Macon. Tatnall Squares, the defending champion, have had successful teams, championship teams for the last several years. So if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. And we're going to have to get past Tatnall Square. Savannah Christian has always been a top team in single A, and that's a team you don't know much about up here in Atlanta because we just don't cross over with common opponents. Here in Atlanta, we're playing in a very difficult region, Region 5 single A, which includes the likes of Holy Innocents and Hebron and Mount Vernon, all teams that have made long playoff runs in recent years. Mount Perrin, Darlington, these are all schools that you come to recognize who are in the playoffs year in, year out. We tried to build a non-region schedule that would test us for single A competition and certainly prepare us for when we have to go 2 out of 3 in the state playoffs. And so our non-region schedule has some of the 7A monsters on it: North Gwinnett, Grayson, Brookwood, Peachtree Ridge, even Dunwoody High School. We looked into some of the other classifications and called up some of those top teams: Carrollton, North Gwinnett, Redan, Lovett. We want to match up against the best, and we feel like we have a team this year that can do that.
Well, Brian, I have to say I appreciate you quoting Ric Flair there a little bit earlier, but certainly an exciting team as we look to follow you guys in 2021. Wishing you and the Wolves nothing but the best this season.
Thank you so much.